Your life will not change until you become willing to change the person making the decisions. Force yourself to transform, not because you are broken, but because the habits that created your current life may not be strong enough for the life you want next. Every morning gives you a choice. You can repeat yesterday, or you can do something that demands more from you. You can stay comfortable, or you can face the work you keep delaying. You can protect your excuses, or you can take responsibility for what happens next. But here is the question most people avoid. What if the biggest obstacle in your life is not your circumstances, your past, or your lack of opportunity? What if it is the version of you that keeps choosing what feels easy? In this audiobook, you will learn how to break old patterns, face uncomfortable truths, push forward when you want to quit, make stronger daily decisions, control your reactions under pressure, and continue working when progress feels painfully slow. Stay with this audiobook until the end, because real transformation begins when you stop waiting to feel ready and start becoming the person your future demands. Chapter 1. Choose change before life forces you. Your life changes when you stop waiting for change to happen to you. Your future is shaped by the choices you make before circumstances become painful enough to demand action. Real transformation begins the moment you accept that staying the same is also a decision. Many people do not change because they lack knowledge. They know they should wake up earlier. They know they should control their spending. They know they should exercise. They know they should learn a useful skill. They know they should stop wasting hours on their phone. The problem is not always a lack of information. The deeper problem is that familiar behavior feels easier than unfamiliar effort. Your mind often prefers what is known, even when what is known is hurting your progress. This is why you must learn to recognize the difference between discomfort and danger. Discomfort often appears when you are doing something useful that you have not practiced enough. Reading for 30 minutes may feel difficult because your attention is used to short videos. Saving money may feel restrictive because spending has become normal. Exercising may feel unpleasant because your body is not used to regular movement. Speaking honestly may feel uncomfortable because you are used to avoiding difficult conversations. None of these feelings automatically mean that you are making the wrong choice. A useful rule is to stop asking yourself whether something feels easy and start asking whether it is helping you become more capable. That small change in judgment can affect your entire day. At breakfast, you can decide whether you will spend the next hour reacting to messages or working on something important. After work, you can decide whether you will give your tired mind another hour of entertainment or use 20 minutes to improve a skill. Before sleeping, you can decide whether you will repeat the same habits tomorrow or make one clear adjustment. Change becomes easier to understand when you stop treating it as one huge event. Personal transformation is usually a collection of small decisions repeated long enough to become normal. A person does not suddenly become disciplined on a random Tuesday. They become disciplined by completing small tasks after the excitement disappears. They build self-respect by keeping small promises to themselves. They become calmer by practicing better responses during ordinary stressful moments. Here is a simple exercise you can use today. Take a piece of paper and write 3 things in your life that you already know need to change. Do not write 10 things. Choose 3. Then write the cost of keeping each one unchanged. Be specific. Do not write that you will have a bad future. Write what actually happens. Maybe you lose an hour every evening scrolling through your phone. Maybe you keep delaying a course that could improve your career. Maybe you avoid exercise and feel tired throughout the day. Clear facts are more useful than vague fear. Now choose the one change that would improve several areas of your life at the same time. This is an important skill that many people overlook. Some habits affect only one small part of your life. Other habits affect your energy, confidence, time, and decision-making together. Improving your sleep can make it easier to exercise. Better sleep can improve your attention. Better attention can improve your work. Better work can reduce stress. This is why you should not only ask which habit is easiest to change, ask which change will make other good choices easier. There is another reason people delay transformation. They wait until they feel completely ready. That feeling rarely arrives. Readiness usually develops after action begins. You learn how to manage your time by managing your time. You become better at difficult conversations by having difficult conversations. You become more confident with money by learning how to track and control it. You become more consistent by practicing consistency. A practical way to overcome this problem is to use a 10-minute starting rule. Choose one important activity and commit to doing it for 10 focused minutes. During those 10 minutes, remove your phone from reach. Do not check messages. Do not look for another task. Work only on the chosen activity. After 10 minutes, you may stop. The goal is not to force a perfect performance. The goal is to teach yourself that starting does not require a long emotional preparation. This matters because many people spend more energy preparing to act than actually acting. They watch another video about productivity. They create another plan. They download another app. They organize another schedule. They talk about their goals. All of that can create the feeling of progress without producing much progress. A useful plan must eventually become behavior that can be observed. You can test this in your own life. At the end of the day, do not ask yourself whether you felt productive. Ask what you actually completed. Did you read the pages you planned to read? Did you complete the work you said you would complete? Did you exercise? Did you save the amount you planned to save? Did you spend less time on distractions? These questions give you evidence. Evidence is much more useful than mood. Your emotions also deserve attention because they often influence your decisions before you notice it. A stressful day can make you want immediate comfort. You may order food you did not plan to buy. You may spend money you wanted to save. You may avoid a task because you feel mentally tired. The problem is not that you have emotions. The problem begins when every emotion becomes an instruction. Learn to create a short pause between feeling and action. You do not need to suppress the feeling. Name it quietly. You may say, I am tired. I am frustrated. I am bored. I want to avoid this task. Once you identify the feeling, choose the next action based on your goal rather than your mood. This simple pause can improve decision-making because it gives you a moment to separate what you feel from what you choose. Transformation also requires honest attention to your environment. Your surroundings can make good behavior easier or harder. A phone beside your bed makes late-night checking easy. A television turned on during work makes distraction easy. Unhealthy food within immediate reach makes poor eating easier. A book placed on your desk makes reading easier. Running shoes beside the door make exercise easier to start. You do not need extraordinary willpower to improve your environment. You need small changes that reduce unnecessary decisions. Put your phone outside the bedroom. Prepare your work area before sleeping. Keep the book you want to read where you normally sit. Prepare your clothes before exercise. Keep a simple list of your most important task for tomorrow. These actions take minutes, but they reduce friction during the next day. There is also a deeper lesson here. You should not build your life around constantly fighting yourself. A strong person does not spend every hour trying to overpower temptation. A strong person learns how to make better choices easier to repeat. This is a major difference between temporary effort and lasting improvement. Take your morning routine as an example. You do not need a complicated routine filled with 20 activities. You need a sequence that helps you start the day with control. Get up at a consistent time, drink water, clean your space, spend a few minutes reviewing your most important task. Start that task before unnecessary entertainment. This gives your first part of the day a clear purpose. Your evening matters just as much. Before going to bed, take 5 minutes to review the day. Ask yourself what you did well. Identify one decision that weakened your progress. Decide what you will do differently tomorrow. Do not turn this review into self-criticism. The purpose is learning. A person who studies their own behavior can improve faster because they stop repeating mistakes without understanding them. You also need to accept that some changes will make other people uncomfortable. The moment you become more disciplined, some people may notice that you are less available for distractions. The moment you start protecting your money, someone may call you boring. The moment you stop explaining every decision, someone may wonder why you have changed. You do not need to argue with them. Your responsibility is to build a life that matches your values. This does not mean ignoring useful feedback. There is a difference between criticism that helps you improve and pressure that keeps you comfortable. Useful feedback points to a specific behavior and gives you something to examine. Pressure often asks you to return to the behavior because other people are accustomed to it. Learn to recognize the difference. One of the strongest forms of personal growth is learning to disappoint your old habits. Your old habits may have given you comfort, entertainment, or approval. That does not make them useful forever. A behavior can feel good today and still create problems later. A behavior can feel difficult today and still improve your life later. Mature decision-making requires you to look beyond immediate feelings. Start practicing this with one daily decision. Choose something you normally avoid and complete it before entertainment. It could be answering an important email, cleaning your room, studying for 30 minutes, preparing your budget, walking for 20 minutes, making the phone call you have delayed. The activity itself is less important than the lesson you are teaching yourself. You are proving that you can act without waiting for perfect feelings. You should also stop measuring transformation only by visible results. Some of the most important changes are internal at first. You may notice that you recover faster after a mistake. You may pause before reacting angrily. You may spend less time complaining. You may become more honest about your weaknesses. You may stop needing other people to approve every decision. These changes matter because they improve the quality of your future choices. A useful daily question is this: what did I do today that my old habits would have prevented me from doing? The answer can be small. Maybe you studied instead of scrolling. Maybe you apologized instead of defending yourself. Maybe you saved money instead of spending it. Maybe you finished a difficult task instead of postponing it. These moments provide real evidence that you are changing. Do not underestimate the importance of keeping promises to yourself. Every time you make a reasonable promise and keep it, you create evidence that your words have meaning. Every time you make a promise and repeatedly break it, you teach yourself that your plans can be ignored. This is why your goals should be realistic enough to complete. Do not promise yourself that you will exercise for 2 hours every day if you have done nothing for months. Start with 20 minutes. Do not promise that you will read 5 books this week. Start with 10 pages a day. Do not promise that you will never waste time again. Decide that you will protect 1 important hour each day. Small promises kept consistently can produce more change than dramatic promises abandoned quickly. There will also be days when you fail. A missed workout does not need to become a missed week. One poor purchase does not need to become a month of careless spending. One distracted afternoon does not need to become a failed day. Learn to correct quickly. The shorter the gap between a mistake and a correction, the less damage the mistake creates. Use a simple recovery rule. Notice the mistake, identify what caused it, correct the next available action. Do not spend the entire evening attacking yourself for what happened. Self-punishment does not automatically produce better behavior. Learning and correction do. This is especially important because people often confuse guilt with responsibility. Guilt can make you feel bad about what happened. Responsibility asks what you will do next. Transformation requires the second one. You cannot change yesterday. You can change the next decision. There is a practical lesson in this for difficult days. Do not create a system that only works when you feel strong. Create a minimum version of your routine for stressful days. Maybe your normal workout is 40 minutes, but your minimum is 10. Maybe your normal reading session is 30 minutes, but your minimum is 5 pages. Maybe your normal study session is 2 hours, but your minimum is 20 minutes. The minimum protects continuity when life becomes difficult. This approach also teaches you something important about discipline. Discipline is not always doing the maximum. Sometimes discipline is doing enough to keep the habit alive without making excuses. You learn to adjust the size of the task without abandoning the direction. Your future will not be changed by one powerful day. It will be changed by the ordinary days that nobody notices. It will happen while you are sitting at your desk, choosing to finish the task. It will happen when you close the phone and return to your work. It will happen when you walk outside, even though you would rather stay on the sofa. It will happen when you save money that could have been spent immediately. Choose those moments carefully. They are where your character becomes visible to you. Today, make one decision that your future self will benefit from. Make it specific. Decide what time you will do it. Remove one obstacle before that time arrives. Complete the task, even if your mood is not perfect. Then record what happened. Tomorrow, repeat the process with another small improvement. You do not need to wait for a crisis to become serious about your life. You do not need to wait for failure to become disciplined. You do not need to wait until the consequences become painful enough to force your attention. You can choose change while you still have time to choose it calmly. Your life is being shaped by ordinary decisions every day. Choose those decisions with greater care. Start before pressure forces you to start. Correct yourself before consequences become severe. Build better habits before old habits become harder to remove. Take responsibility before circumstances make the decision for you. The most important change today may be a very simple one. Do the thing you already know matters. Do it without waiting for the perfect mood, and let that action become evidence that you are ready to live differently. Chapter 2. Break patterns that keep your life stuck. Old patterns can keep a capable person living the same year again and again. The problem is not always a lack of effort. Often the problem is repeating the same response to the same situations and expecting life to produce a different result. Real change begins when you become honest about the behaviors you repeat without even noticing. Start by studying your ordinary day. Pay attention to what you do after waking up, during work, after stress, and before sleep. Notice where your time goes without making excuses for yourself. You may discover that the problem is not one major mistake. It may be a small behavior repeated hundreds of times. Checking your phone for 5 minutes can become an hour. Delaying one task can create pressure for the rest of the day. Avoiding one uncomfortable conversation can create weeks of tension. Patterns become powerful because they become automatic. You do not always make a fresh decision each time. You follow what you have practiced. That is why changing your life requires more than deciding to behave differently once. You need to identify the repeated sequence that produces the result you dislike. Use a simple 3-step review. Notice what happens before the behavior. Identify what you usually do next. Then examine what happens afterward. Suppose you regularly lose an hour at night watching random videos. The trigger may be tiredness after work. The behavior is reaching for your phone. The result is staying awake later than planned and feeling tired the next morning. Once you see the sequence clearly, you have something practical to change. Do not attack yourself for having patterns. Study them. Shame often makes people hide their behavior from themselves. Honest observation gives you useful information. You are not trying to prove that you are a bad person. You are trying to understand why your current actions produce your current results. One of the most useful questions you can ask is this: what do I repeatedly do, even though I already know the result? That question forces you to look at behavior instead of intention. You may say that you want better health while repeatedly choosing habits that leave you tired. You may want better finances while buying things whenever you feel stressed. You may want stronger relationships while avoiding honest conversations. There is a difference between wanting a result and practicing the behavior that creates it. Your intentions matter, but your repeated actions reveal what your current system is producing. This is not an insult. It is useful information. Once you accept the evidence, you can make a better plan. Look closely at the moments where your behavior changes. Most people focus on the action itself and ignore the few minutes before it. Those minutes often contain the real opportunity for change. You may not suddenly decide to waste an evening. You may first feel bored, uncomfortable, lonely, or mentally tired. Then you look for relief. Understanding that emotional moment gives you another place to intervene. You do not always need to remove the behavior completely. Sometimes you need to replace the response that comes before it. After a difficult day, take a 10-minute walk before opening social media. After feeling frustrated, write down the problem before sending a message. After receiving your salary, move your planned savings before spending begins. These actions create a small space between the feeling and the old response. That space matters because better decisions become easier when they happen before the old pattern becomes strong. Waiting until midnight to fight the urge to stay online is harder than leaving the phone outside the bedroom at 10 o'clock. Trying to avoid unnecessary spending after entering a store is harder than deciding your spending limit before leaving home. This teaches an important lesson about self-control. Good decisions are often made before temptation appears. Preparation can reduce the amount of willpower you need later. Now examine the places and people connected to your old patterns. Your environment can quietly remind you to behave the way you always have. A messy desk may make starting work harder. A group chat that constantly pulls your attention may make focused work difficult. A friend who expects you to complain every day may make negative conversations feel normal. You do not need to reject everyone or disappear from your life. You need to become more deliberate about what you allow to shape your behavior. Spend more time around people who respect effort, responsibility, learning, and healthy boundaries. Reduce unnecessary exposure to situations that repeatedly pull you away from the person you are trying to become. Another pattern worth examining is the habit of postponing decisions. Some people keep saying they will decide later because a decision creates responsibility. They keep researching, comparing, planning, and waiting. Eventually, the opportunity becomes smaller, or the problem becomes larger. Set a decision deadline for issues that do not require endless research. Give yourself enough time to gather important facts. Then choose. You will make some wrong decisions. That is part of learning. A person who never decides also never gains the experience that comes from correcting decisions. There is another pattern that quietly damages progress. It is starting again instead of continuing. A person misses 3 workouts and decides to begin a completely new fitness plan. They stop reading for a week and buy a new productivity system. They spend too much money and create a complicated financial plan. Constantly restarting can feel productive because it creates excitement. Continuing with a simple system is usually more useful. Choose one basic process and give it enough time to show results. Track your behavior instead of changing the system every few days. Your goal is not to find a perfect method. Your goal is to become someone who can stay with a useful method long enough to benefit from it. You should also watch the language you use with yourself. Repeated statements can influence repeated behavior. Saying that you are always lazy gives you an identity that can become an excuse. Saying that you have been inconsistent with exercise describes a behavior that can be changed. Use accurate language. Describe what happened without turning one behavior into a permanent judgment about yourself. This becomes especially important after failure. Instead of saying, "I always mess things up," say, "I made a poor decision today and I need to understand why." The second statement gives you a problem to solve. The first statement gives you a label to carry. Patterns also exist in the way you respond to criticism. Some people immediately defend themselves. Others become silent and resentful. Some attack the person giving feedback. A better response is to pause and separate useful information from emotional delivery. Ask yourself, what part of the feedback is supported by facts? If there is something you need to correct, correct it. If the criticism is unfair, you do not need to accept it as truth. Practice this with small situations before you face serious ones. Notice your reaction when someone corrects a minor mistake. Do you explain immediately? Do you become irritated? Do you listen? Your response in small moments reveals habits that can affect larger parts of your life. Breaking patterns also requires replacing empty time with planned activity. Unplanned time is not automatically bad, but too much of it can invite your strongest old habits. Before the evening begins, decide how you will use the next 2 hours. You can include rest. You can watch something you enjoy. You can meet someone. The important part is choosing rather than drifting. At the end of each day, record one pattern you noticed. Write what triggered it, what you did, and what you could change next time. Keep the record short. The purpose is not to create another complicated routine. The purpose is to make your behavior visible. After 7 days, look for repeated triggers. You may discover that you procrastinate mostly after difficult meetings. You may notice that you spend unnecessarily when you feel bored. You may find that you lose focus when your workspace becomes cluttered. Once the trigger becomes clear, your solution becomes more specific. Do not try to destroy every bad habit at once. Choose the pattern that creates the most damage or blocks the most important goal. Work on that one first. Replace it with a behavior that is simple enough to repeat. Then measure whether your daily actions are changing. Your life can remain stuck for years through behaviors that take only a few minutes each day. That is why small patterns deserve serious attention. A repeated choice can become a normal part of your identity without you consciously deciding that it should. Look at your day with honesty. Find the behavior you keep defending even though you already know where it leads. Find the situation that repeatedly triggers it. Change what happens before the old response begins. Give yourself a better action to take. Practice that replacement until it becomes familiar. You do not need to rebuild your entire life in one day. You need to stop allowing the same patterns to make the same decisions for you. Study your behavior closely. Change one repeated response. Keep practicing until the new response becomes easier. Then move to the next pattern that deserves your attention. A different life requires different daily behavior. Start by changing the patterns that have been deciding your days without your permission. Chapter 3. Push yourself when you want to quit. The hardest part of personal growth often begins after the excitement disappears. You start with energy and confidence, but after several days, the work becomes ordinary and tiring. This is where many people stop, not because the goal is wrong, but because they have never learned how to continue after motivation becomes weak. Quitting usually feels reasonable in the moment. Your body feels tired. Your attention is low. The task seems less important than it did yesterday. You tell yourself that you will continue tomorrow. Sometimes rest is exactly what you need, but sometimes the desire to stop is simply a temporary reaction to discomfort. Learning to tell the difference can change the way you handle difficult work. Start by separating real exhaustion from temporary resistance. Real exhaustion can affect your concentration, physical ability, mood, and basic functioning. It may require sleep, food, recovery, or professional attention. Temporary resistance feels different. You know what needs to be done, but you do not want to begin. You feel bored. The task feels repetitive. You want something easier. That feeling does not always require stopping. This distinction gives you a practical decision rule. Do not quit because an activity feels unpleasant. First check whether your body or mind genuinely needs recovery. If you are simply resisting the work, reduce the size of the task and continue. This prevents you from turning every uncomfortable moment into a reason to abandon your plans. A useful example is exercise. You may plan a 40-minute workout and suddenly feel like doing nothing. Instead of deciding that the entire session is cancelled, commit to 10 minutes. Walk, stretch, complete a few basic movements. After 10 minutes, assess your condition again. Sometimes you will continue because starting removed the mental resistance. Other times, you will recognize that your body genuinely needs rest. Either way, you made the decision from observation rather than impulse. The same method works with studying. You may sit at your desk and feel unable to concentrate. Do not immediately decide that you cannot study. Remove distractions and work on one small section for 15 minutes. Read carefully. Take a few notes. Then check your attention. The goal is to train yourself to stay engaged long enough to determine what is actually happening. Many people misunderstand persistence because they believe it means forcing maximum effort every day. That is not sustainable. Effective persistence means continuing in a way that matches the demands of the situation. Some days require a full effort. Other days require a smaller effort that keeps you connected to the habit. This is why you should create a minimum standard for important habits. Decide beforehand what counts as maintaining the habit on a difficult day. It might be 10 minutes of exercise, 5 pages of reading, 20 minutes of study, or completing one important work task. Your minimum should be small enough to complete during a difficult day, but meaningful enough to protect the behavior. The important point is that you are not trying to impress yourself with extreme effort. You are training reliability. You want your actions to remain connected to your priorities, even when conditions are not perfect. Another reason people quit is that they expect progress to feel obvious. Some improvements are easy to measure. You can see money saved or pages completed. Other improvements appear in your behavior first. You recover from mistakes faster. You concentrate longer. You complain less. You handle criticism with greater control. You become less dependent on immediate pleasure. These changes may not attract attention, but they show that your capacity is developing. Track the behavior that produces the result, rather than checking the result every day. If you are learning a skill, count practice sessions. If you are improving fitness, track completed workouts. If you are managing money, record spending and saving. If you are building a reading habit, record pages. This gives you something concrete to evaluate. You should also understand the danger of making decisions during emotional lows. A difficult afternoon can make a long-term goal look pointless. A disappointing result can make months of work feel useless. Do not allow one bad moment to make a permanent decision. Give important decisions enough time for your emotions to settle. You can create a simple rule for yourself. Never abandon an important goal on the same day you experience a major setback. Give yourself time to review what happened, identify the problem, decide whether the goal needs adjustment or whether your method needs adjustment. This prevents emotional reactions from controlling long-term choices. There is a major difference between changing your strategy and abandoning your responsibility. Suppose you have studied for months, but your results are poor. Continuing the exact same method may not be wise. You may need a better teacher, different practice, more feedback, or a new schedule. Persistence does not mean repeating ineffective behavior forever. Persistence means remaining committed to improvement while being willing to change the method. This principle matters in work as well. A person may spend hours working but produce little because the task is poorly organized. The answer is not always to work longer. It may be to remove unnecessary tasks, improve preparation, or focus on the highest value activity first. Before pushing yourself harder, ask whether your effort is being used well. Hard work without direction can create fatigue without meaningful progress. Good discipline includes knowing what deserves your energy. You also need to prepare for the moment when nobody is watching. External praise can help you begin, but it cannot carry you through every difficult day. There will be mornings when nobody knows whether you worked. There will be evenings when nobody cares whether you completed your plan. Your ability to continue privately is one of the clearest signs that your commitment is becoming stronger. Create a daily record that only you need to see. Write down the important action you completed. Do not make it complicated. A simple check beside a completed task gives you evidence. Over time, those records show whether you are becoming more consistent or simply talking about becoming more consistent. Your language also matters during difficult moments. Replace statements such as, "I cannot do this," with more accurate statements such as, "I am struggling with this part." The second statement does not deny the difficulty. It identifies a specific problem. A specific problem can be addressed. You can then ask, what exactly is making the task difficult? Is it lack of knowledge? Is it poor preparation? Is the task too large? Are you distracted? Are you tired? Are you afraid of making a mistake? Each answer requires a different response. This is why precise self-questioning is more useful than general frustration. Sometimes you want to quit because the task threatens your pride. You may be used to being good at things quickly. A new skill exposes your mistakes. You feel slow. You compare yourself with people who have practiced for years. The natural response is to leave before you feel incompetent. Stay long enough to become a beginner without shame. Being inexperienced is not a permanent condition. Every capable person has been confused, slow and uncertain while learning something new. Your responsibility is to tolerate the early stage long enough to improve. There is also a lesson about physical discomfort. During exercise or demanding work, discomfort can increase your desire for immediate relief. You can learn to observe that sensation without instantly responding to it. Slow your breathing, check your posture, reduce the intensity if needed. Continue safely when appropriate. This teaches your mind that discomfort does not automatically control your behavior. Do not turn this principle into reckless behavior. Pushing yourself does not mean ignoring injury, severe exhaustion, or serious warning signs. Strength includes knowing when recovery is necessary. The purpose is not to punish yourself. The purpose is to stop using ordinary discomfort as an automatic reason to escape useful work. Choose one area of your life where quitting has become too easy. Maybe you start courses and leave them unfinished. Maybe you exercise for 2 weeks and stop. Maybe you repeatedly abandon financial plans. Maybe you begin projects with excitement and lose interest once the work becomes repetitive. Study the exact moment you usually quit. What happens immediately before it? What are you feeling? What thought appears? What do you normally do next? Once you know the pattern, create a response for that specific moment. For example, If you usually stop studying after 30 minutes because you become distracted, prepare a second 20-minute session before you begin. If you normally skip exercise after a stressful day, prepare a short version of the workout. If you abandon projects because you become bored, divide the next stage into smaller tasks and finish one before deciding what comes next. You are not trying to become a person who never feels tired, bored, afraid, or frustrated. You are becoming a person who can make useful decisions while those feelings are present. That skill develops through repetition. Each time you continue a reasonable task after the initial desire to stop, you gain information about yourself. You learn that your first impulse does not always deserve the final decision. You learn that difficult work can become easier after several minutes. You learn that progress often requires staying engaged after the excitement has gone. The next time you want to quit, pause before deciding. Check your condition. Identify the real problem. Reduce the task if necessary. Change your method if the method is failing. Rest when recovery is genuinely needed. Continue when the main obstacle is simply resistance. Then return to the work. Your strength will not be measured only by what you can do on your best day. It will also be shaped by the decisions you make on ordinary days when the task is boring and nobody is encouraging you. Learn to continue intelligently. Learn to adjust without abandoning yourself. Learn to stay with valuable work long enough to discover what consistent effort can actually produce. Chapter 4. Face hard truths you keep avoiding. Some problems remain in your life because you already know what needs to change, but do not want to admit it. You may know that your spending is careless. You may know that your health needs attention. You may know that a relationship needs an honest conversation. You may know that your work habits are weaker than they should be. The difficult part is often not discovering the truth. The difficult part is accepting what that truth requires from you. Avoidance can feel comfortable for a short time. You do not have to make a difficult decision. You do not have to admit a mistake. You do not have to change an old habit. You can continue your normal routine and tell yourself that you will deal with the issue later. The problem is that postponement does not remove responsibility. It often gives the problem more time to grow. Start by separating facts from the story you tell yourself about those facts. Suppose you have little money left at the end of every month. The fact is that your income and spending do not currently match your financial goal. Saying that everything is too expensive may be partly true, but it does not tell you where your money is going. You need the actual numbers. Look at your bank records. Write down your regular expenses. Identify unnecessary purchases. Face the information without defending yourself. This is a useful rule for personal growth. Never argue with evidence before you understand it. You may not like what the evidence shows, but you need to see it clearly before deciding what to do. The same principle applies to your use of time. Many people say they are too busy, but they have never measured how they spend their day. Track your activities for 3 days. Record work, sleep, meals, commuting, exercise, entertainment, social media, conversations, and unplanned time. Do not try to look productive on paper. Record what actually happens. You may discover that you have more usable time than you believed, but it is being divided into small pieces by interruptions. Another hard truth is that being busy does not always mean being productive. You can answer messages for hours and still avoid your most important responsibility. You can organize your desk repeatedly and still not complete the project. You can watch educational videos all evening and never practice what you learned. Activity can create a strong feeling of effort without producing the result you need. Ask yourself what your work actually produces. At the end of each day, identify the one result that mattered most. If you cannot name it, your attention may be going toward low-value activities. There is another truth that many people avoid. Some goals are not being achieved because the person has not given them enough consistent effort. This can be painful to admit because blaming circumstances protects your self-image. Circumstances do matter. Some problems genuinely require more time, money, support, or opportunity. But you still need to identify what is within your control. Write 2 lists. Put everything you can influence on one side. Put everything you cannot control on the other. Your energy belongs mainly to the first list. You cannot control another person's opinion. You can control how you communicate. You cannot control the past. You can control what you do with the lesson. You cannot control every economic condition. You can control your spending, skills, preparation, and effort. This exercise reduces wasted mental energy. People often spend hours worrying about conditions they cannot change while ignoring actions that are available immediately. You also need to face the truth about your excuses. An excuse does not always sound weak. Sometimes it sounds intelligent. You may say that you need more research before starting. You may say that the timing is not right. You may say that you work better under pressure. You may say that you need more motivation. Some of these statements can contain a small amount of truth, but they can still protect you from taking action. Test your reasons through behavior. If you claim that you need more time, look at your schedule. If you claim that you need more knowledge, spend 30 minutes learning the missing skill. If you say that you need motivation, complete 10 minutes of the task without it. Evidence will tell you more than repeated explanations. One of the hardest truths is that your current results may be connected to choices you keep making. This does not mean every difficulty is your fault. Life contains unfair events, unexpected losses, difficult circumstances, and problems outside your control. Responsibility does not mean blaming yourself for everything. It means identifying the part that belongs to you and dealing with it honestly. Take responsibility for the portion you can influence. That is where your power to improve begins. You may also need to accept that some people will not change simply because you explain yourself better. You can communicate clearly and still be misunderstood. You can be kind and still be treated unfairly. You can apologize and still not receive forgiveness. You can work hard and still not receive recognition. This truth can be painful because it removes the illusion that you can control every outcome through better behavior. You cannot. Your responsibility is to control your conduct, your boundaries, your decisions, and your response to other people's choices. Another difficult truth involves relationships. Sometimes you remain close to people because you are afraid of being alone, not because the relationship is healthy. Sometimes you continue a friendship because of history, even though the present relationship creates constant stress. Sometimes you avoid an honest conversation because you fear conflict. Do not make major relationship decisions based on one bad day. Study the pattern. How often do you feel respected? Can you communicate honestly? Can both people admit mistakes? Are problems discussed or repeatedly ignored? Does the relationship support responsible behavior or encourage harmful habits? Look at repeated behavior rather than isolated moments. Hard truths also exist in the way you treat yourself. Some people speak kindly to everyone except themselves. They make one mistake and spend the entire day attacking their own character. This does not create discipline. It creates fear around failure. Use accurate self-evaluation instead. Say what happened. Identify why it happened. Decide what needs to change. Then move forward. You can be honest about poor behavior without declaring yourself a hopeless person. There is also a truth about comparison. You may be judging your progress against someone else's visible results while knowing almost nothing about their starting point, responsibilities, sacrifices, or private struggles. Comparison can distract you from useful measurement. Compare your current behavior with your previous behavior. Are you managing money better than 6 months ago? Are you more reliable with your commitments? Can you concentrate longer? Are you handling difficult conversations with more maturity? These measurements tell you whether your actions are producing growth. A practical weekly review can help. Choose one evening each week and answer 5 questions on paper. What did I avoid? What did I handle well? What mistake repeated itself? What decision needs to be made? What action must happen next week? Keep your answers factual. Avoid dramatic language. The purpose is to see clearly. The question about avoidance is especially important. The things you keep postponing often deserve examination. The unopened email, the unpaid bill, the unfinished course. The medical appointment you keep delaying. The conversation you know you need to have. The application you have not submitted. The project you keep planning without starting. Choose one avoided responsibility and deal with it before adding another goal. Sometimes transformation does not begin with a new habit. It begins with handling something you have been carrying for too long. You may feel uncomfortable during this process. That discomfort is not proof that you are doing something wrong. Honest information can be uncomfortable because it removes convenient explanations. But discomfort can also provide clarity. Once you know the problem, you can work on the problem. Do not use honesty as an excuse to become harsh with yourself. The goal is not to make yourself feel bad. The goal is to make better decisions. A hard truth is useful only when you turn it into a practical response. So take one area of your life that has been bothering you. Write down the exact problem without excuses. Record the facts. Identify your responsibility. Identify what you can control. Choose one action that addresses the real issue. Complete it before spending time creating another plan. Your life becomes easier to improve when you stop spending energy protecting yourself from information you already know. Face the numbers. Face the habits. Face the missed opportunities. Face the difficult conversation. Face the weak decision. Face the part that belongs to you. Clear truth gives you a clear starting point. The person who is willing to look honestly at their own behavior can make changes that are impossible for someone who keeps defending the same patterns. Do not run from information because it makes you uncomfortable. Use it. Let the facts show you where your attention belongs. Then take responsibility for the next decision in front of you. Chapter 5. Demand more from yourself every day. Your life improves when your personal standards improve. A person can have good intentions and still remain at the same level for years because they keep accepting the same weak effort from themselves. Growth begins when you stop asking only what is comfortable and start asking what you are capable of doing better today. Demanding more from yourself does not mean becoming harsh or impossible to satisfy. It means refusing to let yesterday's effort automatically become today's standard. You can respect how far you have come while still expecting better decisions from yourself. That balance is important because constant self-criticism destroys energy, while constant self-approval can remove the reason to improve. Start with the way you complete ordinary responsibilities. Look at your work, your room, your communication, your health, and your use of time. Ask whether you are doing these things at the level you know you can. You may discover that you are not failing at anything major. You are simply doing many small things with less care than you could give them. That is where higher standards begin. A higher standard is not a vague desire to become better. It is a clear rule for how you behave. Instead of saying that you want to be more organized, decide that you will prepare tomorrow's priorities before going to bed. Instead of saying that you want to become healthier, decide what food you will regularly keep at home and how often you will move your body. Instead of saying that you want to become more reliable, decide that you will arrive early rather than treating the scheduled time as the arrival time. Standards become powerful when they can be observed. Look at your morning. The first hour can reveal a lot about the level of control you currently have over your day. Do you immediately reach for your phone? Do you rush because you woke up late? Do you leave your room untidy? Do you begin the day responding to other people's demands before deciding what matters to you? You do not need a complicated morning routine. You need a deliberate beginning. Get up at a consistent time. Take care of basic personal needs. Review your most important responsibility. Start with something that requires attention before giving yourself easy entertainment. This simple structure teaches you to act according to priorities rather than impulses. Then look at your work standard. Many people complete tasks, but they do not always complete them carefully. They send messages without reading them again. They submit work without checking obvious mistakes. They start projects without deciding what a finished result should look like. They move from one task to another because being busy feels better than concentrating on one responsibility. Raise the quality of your attention. Before starting an important task, define what done means. If you are writing a report, decide what information must be included. If you are studying, decide which material you must understand by the end of the session. If you are cleaning, decide which areas must be completed. Clear standards reduce vague effort. You can also use a simple quality check before finishing. Ask whether the work is accurate, complete, and useful. This takes very little time, but it can separate careless completion from responsible completion. Demanding more from yourself also means becoming more careful with your words. People often make promises casually because the promise feels good in the moment. They say they will call, arrive, finish something, save money, exercise, or start a project. Later, they forget or change their mind. Do not make promises simply because you want someone to feel good. Give yourself enough time to consider whether you can actually do what you are saying. Then keep the commitment. Your word should have weight. This does not mean refusing to change plans when circumstances change. Responsible people adjust when necessary. The difference is that they communicate instead of disappearing. They do not treat every inconvenience as permission to ignore what they said. Now consider your learning standard. Reading information is not the same as learning. Watching a video about a skill does not mean you can perform that skill. Listening to advice does not mean you understand how to use it. If you want to demand more from yourself, measure learning through application. After studying something useful, ask what you can now do that you could not do before. If you are learning communication, practice writing a clearer message. If you are learning finance, build a simple spending record. If you are studying a language, speak or write using the new words. If you are learning a professional skill, create something with it. Application exposes gaps in understanding. This is valuable because passive learning can make you feel informed without making you more capable. The moment you try to use knowledge, you discover what you actually understand. You should also raise your standard for how you respond to mistakes. A low standard says, "I made a mistake, so the day is ruined." A higher standard says, "I made a mistake, and I will correct it as quickly as possible." This difference can change your entire approach to failure. You cannot prevent every error. You can improve the speed and quality of your response. Check the problem. Admit your part. Fix what can be fixed. Learn what caused it. Continue with the next responsibility. Do not spend hours proving to yourself that you feel bad enough. Use the mistake to improve your behavior. Another area that deserves a higher standard is your attention. Your attention is limited, yet many people give it away without noticing. Every notification interrupts your thought. Every unnecessary argument consumes mental energy. Every random video makes it easier to abandon focused work. Choose specific periods during the day when your phone does not control your attention. Put it away while studying. Keep it out of reach during important work. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Give yourself planned periods for entertainment, rather than allowing entertainment to fill every empty moment. You are not trying to eliminate enjoyment, you are deciding where enjoyment belongs. Demand more from yourself in the way you handle difficult conversations too. A mature standard is not always saying what people want to hear. It is saying what needs to be said with respect and clarity. Do not send an angry message while your emotions are high. Write it, pause, and read it again later. Remove insults. Remove unnecessary accusations. State the specific problem. Explain what you need. Give the other person an opportunity to respond. This approach does not guarantee agreement. It improves the quality of your behavior. Your physical environment also reflects your standards. A room does not need to look perfect, but it should be functional. A workspace should support concentration. Your belongings should have reasonable places. The basic condition of your environment should not create unnecessary stress. Spend 10 minutes each evening putting your immediate environment back in order. Clean the desk. Put away clothes. Prepare what you need for tomorrow. Throw away obvious waste. These small actions reduce the number of problems you wake up to. You should also demand more from your financial behavior. Do not ask only whether you can afford something today. Ask whether the purchase supports the life you are trying to build. Track your spending for 1 month without judging yourself. Look for patterns. Identify purchases that provide lasting value and purchases that mainly provide temporary comfort. Then create simple rules. Decide how much you will save before discretionary spending. Set a limit for unnecessary purchases. Wait before buying something that was not planned. The goal is not to remove every enjoyable purchase. It is to make sure your money follows your priorities. Higher standards also require better use of your evenings. A tired mind often looks for easy stimulation. You may sit down for a few minutes and suddenly realize that 2 hours have passed. The solution is not to make every evening productive. Rest is necessary. The solution is to decide what kind of rest actually helps you recover. Some activities leave you calmer and ready for tomorrow. Others leave you mentally scattered and make sleep harder. Pay attention to how you feel afterward. Use that information to choose better forms of recovery. There is another standard that deserves attention. It is the standard you set for the people you allow to influence your behavior. You do not need to judge people as good or bad. Look at patterns. Who encourages responsible behavior? Who constantly pulls you into unnecessary drama? Who respects your goals? Who makes it harder for you to keep your commitments? Who can disagree with you without trying to control you? Your environment does not determine your character, but it can influence what becomes normal to you. Choose your regular influences carefully. At the same time, do not demand perfection from other people while allowing poor behavior from yourself. Personal growth becomes stronger when your standards begin with your own conduct. There is a practical way to build this habit. At the end of each day, choose one area where your performance was below your own standard. Do not list everything. Pick one. Then decide the smallest correction you can make tomorrow. Maybe you spent too much time online. Set a specific phone boundary. Maybe you arrived late. Prepare earlier. Maybe you avoided an important task. Put it first tomorrow. Maybe you spoke too quickly during a disagreement. Pause before responding next time. This process creates gradual improvement without turning your life into a constant battle with yourself. You should also learn to raise your standards slowly. Trying to improve everything at once can create unnecessary pressure. Choose one area for the next 30 days. Make the expectation clear. Track it. Review it each evening. After the behavior becomes stable, raise another standard. This is how improvement becomes sustainable. You are not constantly rebuilding your life. You are strengthening one part and then using that stability to improve another. The most important question is not whether you are better than someone else. It is whether your current behavior deserves the future you say you want. That question requires honesty. If you want stronger health, your daily choices must support it. If you want better work, your attention must support it. If you want financial stability, your spending must support it. If you want stronger relationships, your communication must support them. If you want self-respect, your behavior must give you reasons to respect yourself. Your standards should match your goals. Do not demand more from yourself because you believe you are never good enough. Demand more because you know that your abilities can grow. There is a major difference between those two reasons. One creates constant dissatisfaction. The other creates responsibility. Tonight, choose one standard you have allowed to become too low. Define what better behavior looks like. Make the rule simple. Apply it tomorrow. Record whether you followed it. Then keep practicing. A better life does not require you to become a completely different person overnight. It requires you to stop accepting behavior from yourself that you already know is below your ability. Raise the quality of one decision. Then raise another. Improve the way you work. Improve the way you speak. Improve the way you manage your time. Improve the way you keep commitments. Improve the way you respond to mistakes. Your standards become visible through your daily behavior. Ask more of yourself, because your life will be affected by what you repeatedly accept. Give yourself clear expectations, honest feedback, and enough patience to improve. Keep increasing the quality of your choices until better behavior becomes normal for you. Chapter 6. Take action before you feel fully ready. Readiness is often misunderstood. Many people believe they must feel confident before they begin, but confidence usually develops after repeated action. The person who waits until every doubt disappears can spend years standing in the same place. Progress starts when you are willing to move while some uncertainty is still present. You do not need to know everything before taking the first useful step. You need enough information to make the next reasonable decision. This distinction can save you months of unnecessary preparation. There is a difference between being informed and waiting for complete certainty. Look at how people learn new skills. A beginner who wants to learn public speaking may spend weeks watching videos about communication. They may read books, study successful speakers, and create detailed notes. All of that can help, but none of it replaces standing in front of people and speaking. Real ability develops through practice, because practice reveals problems that preparation alone cannot show. This applies to almost every area of life. You understand a budget better after tracking your real spending. You understand exercise better after following a routine. You understand writing better after producing actual pages. You understand business better after serving real customers. You understand leadership better after making decisions that affect other people. Action gives you information. That is one of the most useful ideas you can carry into your daily life. You do not always act because you already know the answer. Sometimes you act because action helps you discover the answer. Consider a person who wants to change careers. They may spend months asking themselves whether the new field is right for them. They imagine possible problems. They compare different options. They worry about making the wrong choice. Instead of trying to solve the entire future in their head, they could spend 2 evenings learning the basic skills required for the field. They could speak with someone who works in it. They could complete a small project. Those actions would produce real information. This is called learning through small experiments, and it is useful because large decisions often become clearer after smaller actions. You can use the same approach with personal goals. Do not immediately commit to a massive change based only on excitement. Test the behavior. If you want to exercise regularly, start with a simple schedule for 2 weeks. If you want to write, produce a few pages each morning. If you want to learn a language, practice for 20 minutes each day. If you want to reduce spending, track your purchases for a month. The purpose is to move from imagination to evidence. Many people remain stuck because they confuse uncertainty with danger. You may not know whether a new project will succeed. That does not automatically mean you should avoid starting it. You need to identify the actual risk. Some risks are serious and require careful planning. Others are simply uncomfortable because the result is unknown. Learn to ask a more useful question. What is the smallest safe action that will teach me something? That question changes your behavior. Instead of wondering whether you are ready to launch an entire project, you might test the first part. Instead of wondering whether you can become fit, You can complete the first week of training. Instead of wondering whether you can write a book, you can write the first 1,000 words. Small actions reduce uncertainty. Another reason people wait is fear of looking inexperienced. They want their first attempt to look professional. This creates unnecessary pressure. Beginners are supposed to have gaps. You cannot improve a skill while protecting yourself from every situation that exposes your lack of skill. Give yourself permission to produce an imperfect first version. Then evaluate it. Find the weak points. Correct them. Try again. The second attempt can be better because the first attempt gave you information. This is particularly important in creative and professional work. Your first draft may be rough. Your first presentation may feel awkward. Your first sales conversation may not go well. Your first attempt at managing a difficult project may contain mistakes. That does not mean the process failed. It means you received useful feedback. Do not make the mistake of judging your ability from one early attempt. Instead, judge your progress by how quickly you learn from each attempt. There is also a practical difference between preparation and procrastination. Preparation improves your chances of doing something well. Procrastination delays action while creating reasons that sound productive. You can identify the difference by looking at the output. After an hour of preparation, do you have something that moves the task forward? Did you make the call? Did you write the draft? Did you complete the application? Did you practice the skill? Did you build the first version? If the answer is no, ask whether you are actually preparing or simply avoiding the discomfort of beginning. Set a preparation limit for important tasks. Give yourself a specific amount of time to gather information. Once that period ends, take the next practical action. This prevents endless research from replacing execution. You also need to understand that motivation can arrive after action rather than before it. Starting creates movement. Movement can improve your mood. A completed task can increase confidence. Confidence can make the next task easier. This is why the first 5 minutes matter so much. When you feel resistance, do not debate with yourself for 20 minutes. Set a timer for 5 minutes and begin the task. Open the document. Put the shoes on. Read the first page. Wash the first few dishes. Make the first call. The action is small, but it interrupts the habit of waiting. Your environment can support this approach. Prepare the materials before you need them. Put your notebook on the desk. Keep your workout clothes ready. Save the document where you can open it quickly. Write tomorrow's first task before ending today's work. Make starting simple. Every extra step between intention and action creates another opportunity to stop. There is another important lesson about decision-making. Some decisions deserve extensive thought, others do not. Treating every decision as equally important wastes mental energy. Do not spend 30 minutes deciding what simple task to do first. Do not spend days choosing between two minor options. Save your deeper thinking for decisions involving significant money, long commitments, health, safety, or other serious consequences. For ordinary tasks, use clear rules. You can decide that important work happens before entertainment. You can decide that purchases above a certain amount require a waiting period. You can decide that unanswered messages are handled during specific times. You can decide that exercise happens on certain days. Rules reduce repeated debate. You should also recognize the cost of waiting. Delaying action has a price, even when no money changes hands. Skills remain undeveloped. Opportunities become less available. Problems become more complicated. Confidence becomes weaker because you keep collecting evidence that you do not act. That does not mean you should rush every decision. It means you should include the cost of delay in your thinking. Suppose you have been considering a course for 6 months. You keep saying that you will start after things become less busy. 6 months later, you are still at the same point. The question is not only whether the course is perfect. The question is what another 6 months of waiting will cost you. Time is part of every decision. You also need to stop expecting certainty about how other people will respond. You may avoid sharing an idea because someone could criticize it. You may avoid applying for a position because you might be rejected. You may avoid starting a conversation because the other person may disagree. You cannot control their response. You can control whether you communicate respectfully and whether you give yourself the opportunity to learn from the result. Rejection can provide information. Criticism can reveal weaknesses. A failed attempt can show you what needs to change. A successful attempt can reveal what works. In each case, action creates information that waiting cannot provide. Use this approach with one goal that has been sitting in your mind for too long. Write down the result you want. Then ask what action could be completed within 24 hours. Make it small enough to be realistic and meaningful enough to create movement. Complete that action. Do not immediately create another large plan. Look at what happened. What did you learn? What became clearer? What obstacle appeared? What should the next step be? Then take that step. This creates a practical cycle of action, feedback, adjustment, and another action. You do not need perfect certainty because each stage gives you more information. There will still be fear. There will still be doubt. There will still be days when you wonder whether you are making the right choice. The goal is not to remove those feelings before moving. The goal is to stop treating them as automatic instructions. A person can feel nervous and still make the phone call. A person can feel uncertain and still submit the application. A person can feel inexperienced and still practice. A person can feel embarrassed and still ask for help. Emotional discomfort does not have to decide what happens next. You should also learn to distinguish between a reasonable warning and an emotional excuse. A warning contains specific information. It points to a real problem that can be examined. An excuse usually repeats fear without producing useful evidence. Write the concern down, then test it. If you are worried that you lack a skill, identify the skill and practice it. If you are worried about cost, calculate the actual amount. If you are worried about time, examine your schedule. If you are worried about failure, identify the consequences and decide whether they are manageable. Specific concerns can be solved. Vague fear becomes weaker when you turn it into facts. The same principle applies to personal improvement. You may believe you cannot become disciplined. Test that belief with one small commitment. You may believe you cannot concentrate. Test it with one focused session. You may believe you cannot change your routine. Test it by changing one part of tomorrow morning. You do not need to believe in yourself perfectly before beginning. You need to create evidence through behavior. Each completed action gives you a clearer understanding of your abilities. You discover where you are strong. You discover where you need help. You discover what requires more practice. You discover which goals still matter after the excitement fades. That information is valuable because real self-knowledge comes from experience. Do something today that you have been waiting to feel ready for. Do not make it reckless. Do not ignore important preparation. Do not put yourself in unnecessary danger. Prepare enough to make the first step responsible, then take it. Your first attempt does not need to prove that you are capable of everything. It only needs to prove that you are willing to begin. Take the call. Write the first page. Start the lesson. Submit the application. Practice the skill. Have the conversation. Clean the workspace. Make the appointment. Build the first version. Then learn from what happens. Readiness is not a permanent feeling that suddenly arrives and gives you permission to begin. In many areas of life, readiness grows because you begin, practice, make mistakes, adjust, and continue. Move before complete confidence. Learn while doing. Improve through feedback. Let real experience replace endless guessing. The next step does not need to be perfect. It needs to be real. Chapter 7. Replace weak choices with strong daily decisions. Your life is shaped by the decisions you make after the important goals have been forgotten for the day. The choice to get up when the alarm rings. The choice to spend money or keep it. The choice to answer with patience or anger. The choice to finish a task or delay it. These decisions may look small while you are making them, but repeated choices create the conditions in which you live. A weak choice is not always an obviously bad choice. Sometimes it is simply the easiest option available at that moment. You know you should study, but you open your phone. You know you should save, but you buy something because you had a stressful day. You know you should speak honestly, but you avoid the conversation. You know you should sleep, but you continue watching videos. The problem is not one decision. The problem is allowing immediate comfort to repeatedly control important parts of your life. Strong decision-making begins with understanding what makes a choice weak. A weak decision usually gives you an immediate benefit while creating a delayed cost. A strong decision may require effort now while producing a better result later. Once you learn to notice this difference, many everyday situations become easier to evaluate. Take food as an example. Eating something highly enjoyable after a difficult day can provide immediate comfort. That does not make the choice automatically wrong. The problem appears when comfort becomes the main reason behind your eating habits, and you repeatedly ignore how those choices affect your energy and health. A stronger decision is not about never enjoying food. It is about deciding what you want your normal pattern to look like before your emotions become intense. The same principle works with money. Buying something can create a quick feeling of satisfaction. Saving the money may feel less exciting because the reward is delayed. A useful financial decision asks what the money needs to accomplish beyond today. Before buying something unplanned, pause and ask whether you still want it after 24 hours. This simple delay can separate genuine value from temporary emotion. Your decisions become stronger when you create rules before difficult moments arrive. Decide how much you will spend on unnecessary purchases each month. Decide which days you will exercise. Decide what time you will stop working. Decide how much entertainment you will allow before important tasks are complete. Rules reduce the need to negotiate with yourself every time. This matters because tiredness changes decision quality. After a long day, your mind has less patience for difficult choices. You may choose whatever requires the least effort. That is why strong decisions should often be prepared earlier. Prepare your lunch before you become hungry. Decide your workout time before you become tired. Plan tomorrow's main task before the evening becomes distracting. Set your spending limit before entering a store. Preparation moves important decisions from emotional moments into calmer moments. Another powerful habit is learning to delay a decision when your emotions are unusually strong. Anger can make an insult feel necessary. Excitement can make an expensive purchase feel reasonable. Fear can make a useful opportunity look dangerous. Sadness can make you believe that nothing matters. You do not need to distrust every emotion. You need to recognize that strong emotions can narrow your attention. When you notice this, create time before making an important choice. A simple rule can help. Do not make major decisions during a temporary emotional peak unless immediate action is genuinely required. Take a walk, drink water, write down the facts, sleep on the issue when possible. Return to the decision after your emotional state has settled. Strong decisions also require knowing what you are actually trying to protect. Your time, health, money, attention, relationships and reputation all have limits. Every choice uses some amount of these resources. Suppose a friend asks you to spend an entire evening helping with something that is not urgent. You may want to help, but you also have an important deadline. A strong decision does not automatically mean saying no. It means looking at your responsibilities and deciding what deserves priority. You can offer a smaller amount of help or suggest another time. Boundaries are decision tools. They protect important responsibilities from being repeatedly pushed aside. Another weak pattern is saying yes because you are afraid of disappointing people. This can create an overloaded schedule and quiet resentment. You promise more than you can deliver, then feel stressed when everyone expects you to keep those promises. Practice a short response before accepting new commitments. Tell the person you need to check your schedule first. This gives you time to decide without social pressure. A thoughtful no is often more respectful than an enthusiastic yes that you cannot keep. Strong decisions also require accepting that every choice has a trade-off. Saying yes to one activity means giving time to it instead of something else. Spending money in one place means having less money available for another purpose. Staying up late gives you more evening entertainment, but reduces sleep. You cannot avoid trade-offs. You can only choose them consciously. This is why priorities matter. Write down the 3 areas of life that deserve the most attention right now. Do not choose 10, choose 3. Use those priorities to evaluate opportunities and distractions. When a new activity appears, ask whether it supports one of those areas. If it does, consider it. If it does not, ask what you would have to sacrifice to make room for it. This prevents your schedule from becoming a collection of other people's priorities. You should also examine the decisions you make after small failures. A person misses one workout and decides the whole week is ruined. A person spends too much one day and gives up on the monthly budget. A person makes a mistake at work and avoids the task completely. A stronger decision is to correct the next available action. One poor choice does not need another poor choice attached to it. The ability to recover quickly is a practical form of discipline. You do not need perfect behavior. You need the ability to return to the right direction without unnecessary delay. Your conversations also provide daily opportunities to practice stronger decisions. You can choose to listen before responding. You can ask for clarification instead of assuming someone's intention. You can admit when you do not know something. You can refuse to spread information you have not verified. These choices improve trust because people learn that your reactions are considered rather than automatic. One especially useful habit is asking yourself what outcome you want before responding to a difficult situation. Suppose someone criticizes your work. Your first impulse may be to defend yourself. Instead, identify the useful outcome. Do you want to understand the criticism? Do you need to correct an error? Do you need to explain your position? Once the outcome is clear, your response becomes easier to control. The same approach works with conflict. Do not ask only what you want to say. Ask what you want the conversation to accomplish. Strong choices are not always impressive. Sometimes the strongest decision is leaving the argument. Sometimes it is admitting you were wrong. Sometimes it is asking for help. Sometimes it is going home early to rest. Sometimes it is refusing an opportunity because it does not fit your priorities. Strength is not measured by how difficult a choice looks. It is measured by whether the choice serves what matters. You can train this skill through a daily decision review. At night, choose 3 decisions you made that day. 1 should be a good decision. 1 should be a weak decision. 1 should be a decision you are uncertain about. For each one, write what influenced you. Were you tired? Were you afraid? Were you seeking approval? Were you bored? Were you rushed? Did you have enough information? This creates a record of your decision patterns. After a few weeks, patterns begin to appear. You may discover that most unnecessary purchases happen late at night. You may notice that you avoid difficult work after checking social media. You may find that arguments happen when you are already tired. Once the pattern is visible, change the conditions around it. This is more effective than simply telling yourself to have better discipline. You can also create a personal decision filter. Before an important choice, ask 4 things. Does this support my priorities? What will this cost me? What happens if I delay it? Will I respect this decision tomorrow? These questions do not guarantee perfect choices. They slow down careless choices. Do not expect yourself to make strong decisions every minute of every day. Human attention changes. Energy changes. Circumstances change. Your goal is to increase the percentage of decisions that support the life you are trying to build. That is measurable. Track one behavior for 30 days. It could be unnecessary spending, late-night phone use, missed workouts, unfinished tasks, or emotional reactions. Record the behavior without exaggeration. Look for improvement rather than perfection. Every week, make one adjustment based on what you observed. Your decisions become stronger through practice because you become better at recognizing the situations that weaken your judgment. You learn what triggers careless behavior. You learn which environments distract you. You learn which people influence your choices. You learn when you are most vulnerable to impulsive decisions. That knowledge gives you an advantage. Do not wait until you are standing in front of temptation to decide who you want to be. Decide your standards while your mind is clear. Then build your daily environment around those standards. Put the phone away during focused work. Set automatic savings if appropriate for your situation. Prepare useful food ahead of time. Keep your schedule visible. Create specific working hours. Protect your sleep. Reduce unnecessary notifications. Make the better choice easier to reach. Your goal is not to make every day difficult. Your goal is to stop making your future harder because of choices that only feel good for a few minutes. Today, identify one weak decision that appears regularly in your life. Do not choose something vague. Name the exact behavior. Identify what usually triggers it. Decide what you will do differently the next time that trigger appears. Then prepare for that moment before it arrives. A stronger life is built through stronger decisions made repeatedly. You do not need to control every event around you. You need to become more deliberate about the choices that belong to you. Choose with more patience, spend with more awareness, speak with more control, work with more attention, rest without guilt, protect what matters, correct mistakes quickly. The quality of your days depends heavily on the quality of your ordinary decisions. Strengthen those decisions one at a time and let your daily behavior show the change. Chapter 8. Control your reactions when pressure tests you. Pressure reveals habits that are easy to hide during comfortable days. A calm morning can make anyone feel patient. A quiet workplace can make anyone feel organized. The real test comes when someone speaks harshly to you, a deadline moves closer, money becomes tight, plans change suddenly, or several responsibilities arrive at once. Your reaction in those moments can either reduce the problem or make it larger. The first skill is learning to notice the moment your body starts reacting. Your jaw may tighten, your breathing may become faster, your voice may become louder, your shoulders may become tense, you may feel heat in your face or a strong urge to respond immediately. These physical signs are useful information. They tell you that you need a pause before choosing your next action. A pause does not mean weakness. It means you are creating enough space to decide how you want to behave. Take one slow breath. Put both feet on the floor. Relax your hands. Lower your voice. Look at the situation without adding extra assumptions. These simple actions can prevent an emotional reaction from becoming a decision. Many people make pressure worse because they respond to the first story their mind creates. Someone does not answer a message, and they assume the person is ignoring them. A manager gives short feedback, and they assume their job is at risk. A friend cancels a plan, and they assume the friendship no longer matters. The event is real, but the explanation may not be. Separate what happened from what you believe it means. Write the facts in one sentence. Then write your interpretation separately. This exercise can reveal how quickly your mind fills missing information. Once you see the difference, you can ask for clarification instead of reacting to an assumption. This is especially useful during conflict. Imagine someone says, "You should have done this differently." Your immediate reaction may be to defend yourself. Instead, ask which part they believe needs to change. You are not accepting their criticism automatically. You are gathering information before deciding how to respond. Good pressure control depends on better questions. Ask what is actually happening. Ask what requires action right now. Ask what can wait. Ask what part belongs to you. Ask what response will improve the situation rather than simply release your anger. These questions move your attention from emotion toward responsibility. You should also learn the difference between urgency and importance. Pressure makes everything feel urgent. A message arrives and suddenly you feel that you must answer immediately. A problem appears at work and you feel that everything else must stop. Someone becomes upset and you feel responsible for fixing their emotions at once. Not every urgent feeling represents an urgent task. Use a simple sorting method. Identify what could cause serious harm if ignored today. Handle that first. Then identify what has a deadline but can be managed calmly. Leave minor issues for a suitable time. This prevents small problems from consuming the attention needed for important responsibilities. Your reaction to pressure also depends on your preparation. People often try to become calm during stressful moments without building calm habits during ordinary moments. That is difficult. You need regular practice. Spend a few minutes each day doing one task without switching between activities. Sit quietly without checking your phone. Take a walk without constantly consuming information. Complete routine work at a steady pace. Practice listening without preparing your response while another person speaks. These ordinary exercises strengthen your ability to remain present when pressure appears. Sleep and physical recovery also affect how you respond. A tired person often has less patience and weaker concentration. That does not excuse poor behavior, but it explains why basic recovery deserves attention. If you regularly sleep too little, skip meals, and remain mentally stimulated late into the night, you may enter stressful situations already close to your limit. Take care of the physical conditions that support good judgment. Eat regular meals, move your body, give yourself enough time to sleep, take short breaks during demanding work. These actions are basic, but basic actions often determine how well you handle pressure. Another important skill is learning not to solve emotional problems with immediate action. Anger can create a strong desire to send a message. Fear can create a desire to cancel everything. Embarrassment can make you want to explain yourself excessively. Give the emotion time to decrease before making decisions that cannot easily be reversed. A useful rule is to delay permanent actions during temporary emotional states. Do not resign from your job during an angry afternoon unless there is a serious reason requiring immediate action. Do not end an important relationship because of one heated conversation. Do not make a major purchase because you feel anxious. Let your thinking return before making choices with lasting consequences. This does not mean ignoring serious problems. It means handling them with a clearer mind. You also need to practice controlling your voice. People often believe they are calm because they are not shouting, but their tone can still communicate hostility. Speak slower during disagreement. Use shorter sentences. Avoid exaggerations such as "you always" and "you never." Describe the specific event instead. Instead of saying, "You never respect my time," say, "You arrived 30 minutes late without telling me." The second statement gives the other person something specific to address. It reduces the chance that the conversation becomes a fight about character. Strong communication focuses on behavior rather than attacking identity. Pressure can also tempt you to blame other people. Sometimes another person really is responsible for part of the problem. You can hold them accountable without surrendering control of your own response. Ask what action is available to you. Do you need to set a boundary? Do you need to document something? Do you need to report a problem? Do you need to leave the situation? Do you need to request a correction? Responsibility becomes practical when it leads to a specific action. Another pressure skill is knowing how to say, "I need time to consider this." You do not need to answer every difficult question immediately. You do not need to accept every request on the spot. You do not need to defend every decision instantly. A short pause can protect you from commitments you later regret. Practice this sentence in ordinary situations. Use it when someone asks for your time, money, or immediate agreement. Check your schedule, review the facts, then respond. You are allowed to make thoughtful decisions. Pressure also exposes how much you depend on control. Some people become angry because events are not happening according to their plans. Traffic delays them. A colleague changes a deadline. A child behaves unexpectedly. A customer complains. A plan gets cancelled. You cannot remove uncertainty from life. You can improve your response to it. Prepare backup options for important plans. Leave extra travel time. Keep copies of important documents. Maintain some financial flexibility when possible. Have an alternative way to complete essential work. Preparation does not guarantee that problems will disappear. It gives you more options when they arrive. The ability to adapt is more useful than demanding that every situation follow your original plan. You should also examine how you speak to yourself under pressure. Some people make a difficult situation worse by adding harsh internal comments. They say, "I always ruin everything," or "I cannot handle anything." These statements do not solve the problem. They consume attention that could be used for action. Use precise language. Say, "This situation is difficult and I need to deal with the next part." That statement acknowledges the problem without turning it into an identity. During a stressful moment, narrow your focus. Do not solve the entire week in your head. Identify the next useful action. Make the phone call. Gather the information. Complete the urgent task. Ask for help. Take the necessary break. Then reassess. A large problem becomes easier to manage when you stop carrying every part of it at once. You can train this skill through deliberate practice. Once a day, notice a small irritation and choose not to react immediately. Someone cuts in front of you. A message arrives later than expected. A coworker makes an annoying comment. Instead of answering instantly, pause and choose your response. Small situations are practice for larger ones. At the end of the day, review one moment when pressure affected you. Do not judge yourself. Study the sequence. What happened? What did you feel? What did your body do? What did you say? What result followed? What would a better response have looked like? This kind of review turns stressful experiences into training material. Over time, you begin to recognize your personal pressure signals. You learn that hunger makes you impatient. You discover that lack of sleep makes criticism harder to accept. You notice that rushed schedules make you speak too quickly. You realize that certain conversations require preparation. That knowledge allows you to manage conditions before they become difficult. The goal is not to become emotionless. Anger can tell you that a boundary has been crossed. Fear can point towards something that needs preparation. Frustration can show that a process is not working. Sadness can tell you that something matters. Emotions provide information, but they do not need to control every action. Listen to the message without handing over the decision. The next time pressure rises, notice your first reaction before acting on it. Slow your breathing. Separate facts from assumptions. Identify what needs attention. Decide what can wait. Speak with control. Take the next useful action. You will not handle every difficult moment perfectly. That is not the standard. The standard is becoming better at recovering your judgment before your reaction creates another problem. Pressure will continue to appear in ordinary life. Deadlines will move. People will misunderstand you. Plans will change. Mistakes will happen. Your ability to stay responsible during those moments can determine what happens next. Build that ability deliberately. Practice calm communication before conflict arrives. Prepare before stressful situations become urgent. Give yourself time before major decisions. Study your reactions instead of pretending they do not exist. A difficult moment does not have to decide who you become. Your response is still a choice, and that choice can be trained. Chapter 9. Keep moving when progress feels slow. Progress can become difficult to trust when the results are not visible yet. You work, practice, save, study, exercise, or build something for weeks and still wonder whether your effort is doing anything. This is one of the most important stages of personal growth, because slow results can test your commitment more than obvious failure. A useful lesson is that progress and visible results are not always happening at the same speed. You can improve your skill before your performance becomes impressive. You can change your spending habits before your savings become large. You can improve your health before your body looks different. You can become more disciplined before anyone notices. The work may be producing changes that are not immediately easy to measure. This is why you need better ways to measure improvement. Do not judge a long-term goal only by its final result. Measure the actions that create the result. If you are learning a skill, count quality practice sessions. If you are improving your fitness, record completed workouts and changes in strength or endurance. If you are saving money, track the amount saved and the spending patterns that changed. If you are writing, record completed pages rather than waiting for a finished book. This gives you evidence during periods when the final outcome is still far away. There is another reason slow progress feels frustrating. Human attention naturally gives more importance to recent events. You may remember the last week when results were disappointing and forget the months of improvement that came before it. This can create the false impression that nothing is changing. Keep a simple record. Write down your starting point. Record important measurements once a week or once a month, depending on the goal. Then compare the current position with where you started. Avoid checking constantly. Frequent checking can make normal short-term changes look more important than they are. For example, someone trying to improve fitness may become discouraged because their weight changes slightly from one day to another. Daily numbers can move because of water, food, sleep, and other normal factors. Looking at a longer period gives a more useful picture. The same principle applies to money, learning, and work. One bad day does not tell you much about a long process. You also need to understand that slow progress can reveal whether your goal is based on real commitment or temporary excitement. At the beginning, almost any new habit can feel exciting. You buy equipment, you create a schedule, you tell people about your plans. Then the novelty disappears. That is the point where the real work begins. Do not expect every day to provide emotional proof that your goal matters. Some days will feel ordinary. You may complete the task and feel nothing special. That does not make the action less valuable. A person who studies for an hour may not feel different afterward, but that hour increases exposure to the subject. Repeated exposure improves familiarity. Familiarity improves understanding. Understanding improves performance when the person continues practicing. The result is created through accumulated work. One of the biggest mistakes people make during slow progress is changing the plan too quickly. They use one method for 2 weeks, see limited results, and immediately replace it with another method. Then they repeat the process. This creates constant movement without enough consistency to determine whether anything works. Give reasonable systems enough time to produce useful evidence. Decide in advance how long you will test a method. During that period, track the behavior and make only necessary adjustments. At the end of the test, review the results. This is a more intelligent approach than changing direction every time you become impatient. You should also learn to distinguish between slow progress and no progress. Slow progress means the desired result is developing gradually. No progress means the current approach is not producing meaningful improvement despite sufficient effort and time. These situations require different responses. If progress is slow but measurable, you may need patience. If there is no meaningful movement, examine the method. Perhaps you need better information. Perhaps the task is too easy. Perhaps you are practicing the wrong skill. Perhaps your schedule does not provide enough focused time. Do not respond to poor results by simply demanding more effort. First, ask whether the effort is aimed at the right thing. Consider someone trying to improve at a professional skill. They spend 5 hours each week repeating tasks they already know. They feel busy but remain at the same level. The solution may not be another 5 hours. It may be studying a harder problem, receiving feedback, or practicing the weak part of the skill. Growth often requires useful difficulty. This is why feedback matters during slow periods. Without feedback, you can repeat the same mistake for months. Ask someone knowledgeable to review your work when appropriate. Compare your performance with a clear standard. Record mistakes. Identify what needs improvement. Do not ask only whether you are doing well. Ask what specifically should become better. Specific feedback gives you a target. Another challenge is comparison. Someone else may appear to progress much faster than you. They may earn more, learn faster, become healthier, or build an audience sooner. You see their current result, but may not see their starting point or the years of work behind it. Use comparison carefully. It can show you what is possible, but it can also distract you from your own process. Instead of asking why you are not as far as another person, ask what their behavior can teach you. How often do they practice? What skills do they focus on? What mistakes do they avoid? What systems support their consistency? Take useful information without turning another person's progress into a judgment about your worth. There will also be periods where progress genuinely slows because life becomes more demanding. Work may increase. Family responsibilities may change. Your energy may drop. Unexpected problems may consume your attention. During these periods, adjust the size of your effort rather than abandoning the goal completely. You may normally study for an hour, but only have 20 minutes. Use the 20 minutes. You may normally exercise 5 days a week, but have a difficult schedule. Keep 2 or 3 useful sessions. You may normally save a large amount, but face an unexpected expense. Protect the habit of saving what is reasonable. Maintaining connection with the goal can matter more than maintaining your perfect routine. This does not mean accepting weak effort permanently. Once circumstances improve, return to a stronger level. The temporary adjustment is there to protect continuity, not to create a permanent excuse. You should also protect yourself from the emotional habit of checking for rewards too early. Some activities become less effective when you constantly ask whether they are working. You spend time checking numbers, views, messages, results, and opinions instead of doing the work. Set specific review times. Work first, measure later. For example, spend your scheduled time practicing without checking whether you have improved during every session. Review your results at the end of the week. This protects your attention and reduces unnecessary emotional reactions. There is another practical way to stay engaged. Create short milestones inside a large goal. A large target can feel distant. Divide it into stages. If you want to read a difficult book, set page targets. If you are learning a skill, divide the skill into smaller abilities. If you are building a project, identify the next completed section rather than focusing on the entire finished product. Small milestones give you clear evidence that you are moving. Rewarding yourself can also help, but choose rewards carefully. The reward should not cancel the behavior you are trying to build. After completing a week of exercise, you do not need to reward yourself by abandoning healthy habits for several days. Choose something that supports recovery or enjoyment without destroying the progress. You should also expect plateaus. A plateau is a period where improvement becomes less obvious. It does not automatically mean that the process has stopped working. During a plateau, review the quality of your practice. Are you still challenging yourself? Are you repeating the same routine without improvement? Are you sleeping enough? Are you recovering properly? Are you practicing the difficult parts or only the comfortable parts? A plateau can be a signal to improve the method rather than abandon the goal. Another useful practice is keeping a progress journal. Each day, write one sentence about what you practiced and one sentence about what you learned. After a month, read the entries. You may notice improvements that were impossible to see from one day to the next. You can also record moments where you handled something better than before. Maybe you stayed calm during an argument. Maybe you finished work without checking your phone. Maybe you refused an unnecessary purchase. Maybe you asked for feedback instead of avoiding criticism. These are forms of progress because they show changes in behavior. Do not make the mistake of believing that slow progress has no emotional value. The ability to continue without constant rewards develops patience. You learn to work without needing immediate praise. You learn to judge yourself through behavior rather than attention from others. This creates a stronger relationship with your own goals. There is also a practical question worth asking whenever you feel discouraged. What part of the process can I improve this week? Do not ask how to solve the entire future. Choose one part. Improve your schedule. Increase practice quality. Reduce distractions. Get better feedback. Fix your sleep. Organize your workspace. Study a weak area. One useful adjustment can restart progress. You should also remember that stopping and resting are not the same thing. Rest can be part of progress because recovery allows you to return with better energy and attention. Stopping means abandoning the direction. Learn to rest intentionally rather than using exhaustion as evidence that the goal is impossible. Plan recovery just as you plan effort. At the end of each week, review 3 things. What improved? What remained difficult? What will you change next week? Keep the review factual. Avoid dramatic judgments. You are collecting information so that the next week can be better than the previous one. Your progress may not always be exciting. Some of the most valuable improvement happens during quiet periods when there is no obvious reward. You keep practicing. You keep learning. You keep correcting mistakes. You keep showing up for responsibilities that nobody praises. Those ordinary actions develop reliability. Keep moving, but do not move blindly. Measure your behavior. Improve your method. Accept slower periods. Use feedback. Protect your energy. Adjust your routine when necessary. Continue the useful work long enough to discover what consistent effort can produce. You do not need to feel impressed by your progress every day. You need enough evidence to know that your actions are taking you in the right direction. Let your results develop at their proper pace. Stay involved in the process. Keep improving the quality of your effort, even during weeks when the reward is difficult to see. Progress that feels slow can still be real. Your responsibility is to keep learning, keep adjusting, and keep doing the work that deserves more time. Chapter 10. Become the person your future needs. Your future will require abilities that your present habits may not provide. The person you become later will depend on what you practice now, especially during ordinary days that seem unimportant. Transformation becomes meaningful when you stop asking only what you want to receive from life and start asking what kind of person can responsibly handle the life you want. A better future is not created only by reaching a goal. It is created by developing the character, skills, judgment, and habits required to maintain that goal after you reach it. Someone can earn more money and still lose it through careless decisions. Someone can receive a leadership position and still fail because they cannot communicate well. Someone can become physically healthier and then return to old habits because they never learned how to maintain the change. The deeper task is becoming capable of handling what you are working toward. Start by identifying the future you actually want. Be specific. Do not write that you want a better life. Write what better means. Maybe you want stable finances, meaningful work, stronger health, better relationships, more control over your time, or greater confidence in your abilities. Then ask what that future would require from you. If you want financial stability, you may need stronger spending habits, useful skills, patience, and better planning. If you want better work, you may need deeper knowledge, stronger communication, reliability, and the ability to solve difficult problems. If you want healthy relationships, you may need emotional control, honesty, listening skills, and clear boundaries. This exercise changes your attention from wishing to preparation. A common mistake is focusing heavily on the reward while ignoring the responsibilities attached to it. People want successful careers but may not want the learning required. They want strong relationships but avoid uncomfortable conversations. They want financial freedom but resist tracking expenses. They want confidence but avoid situations where they might make mistakes. Every meaningful result has responsibilities attached to it. Ask yourself what your desired future would demand from you on an ordinary Tuesday. This is a powerful test because fantasy usually focuses on the exciting parts. Real life includes meetings, bills, deadlines, tired evenings, difficult decisions, and repeated responsibilities. If you want to become a respected professional, imagine the daily behavior required to maintain that reputation. You may need to arrive prepared, communicate clearly, meet deadlines, accept correction, and continue learning. Those actions are less exciting than the final title, but they are what make the title sustainable. Start practicing those behaviors before you receive the reward. You can also choose one future quality to develop each month. Maybe this month is about reliability. Next month can focus on communication. Another month can focus on financial control. Later, you can work on health, learning, or emotional discipline. Do not try to build every quality at once. Deep change requires attention. One useful method is to create a future standard. Write one sentence describing how you want to behave in an important area. For example, you might decide that you will finish important work before spending time on entertainment. Or you might decide that you will not make promises you cannot reasonably keep. Then test that standard through daily behavior. The point is not to create impressive statements. The point is to create rules that guide real decisions. Your future self will also need better judgment. Knowledge tells you what is possible. Judgment helps you decide what is appropriate. You can know many things and still make poor decisions if you cannot evaluate timing, consequences, risk, and priorities. Develop judgment by reviewing your decisions. Once a week, choose one important decision you made. Ask what information you had. What did you assume? What result followed? What would you do differently with the same information today? This is more useful than simply labeling the decision as good or bad. You are studying your thinking process. Over time, you may notice patterns. Perhaps you make poor choices when rushed. Perhaps you agree too quickly because you want approval. Perhaps you avoid decisions that involve uncertainty. Perhaps you spend more when you feel stressed. Knowing your patterns allows you to create safeguards. Your future also needs emotional maturity. Emotional maturity does not mean never becoming angry, worried, disappointed, or frustrated. It means being able to experience those emotions without allowing them to control every important action. Practice this during small situations. Pause before answering a message that irritates you. Listen fully before defending yourself. Admit a mistake without adding a long explanation. Tell someone that you need time to think before responding. These small actions build a more stable response pattern. You should also become comfortable with delayed rewards. Many important goals take longer than your emotions prefer. Education requires months or years. Financial stability takes repeated restraint. Physical improvement requires regular training. Professional reputation develops through consistent performance. Learn to work without demanding immediate proof. Set process targets instead of relying entirely on outcome targets. A process target might be studying 5 days a week. An outcome target might be passing an exam. You control the first one more directly than the second. Use both, but put most of your daily attention on the process. Your future will also be influenced by what you refuse to tolerate. There are behaviors that may seem harmless, but slowly reduce your ability to function well. Constant lateness, regular overspending, poor sleep, endless distraction, avoiding responsibility, breaking promises, staying in unnecessary conflicts. You do not need to become extreme. You need to decide what is no longer acceptable as a normal pattern. Choose one behavior that has been costing you more than you admit. Set a clear boundary around it. Track the result for several weeks. Another important part of becoming prepared for the future is learning to manage your attention. Modern life offers constant stimulation. Messages, videos, notifications, news, entertainment, and endless information can fill every quiet moment. A person who cannot direct attention may struggle to develop any deep skill. Create periods where you work without interruptions. Give important tasks a protected block of time. Keep unnecessary notifications off. Do not constantly switch between tasks. Allow your mind enough uninterrupted time to understand difficult material. This is not about working all day. It is about giving your best attention to the work that matters. Your future also needs practical courage. Courage is not feeling fearless. It is being willing to take a responsible action despite uncertainty. Apply for the position. Ask for feedback. Start the project. Admit what you do not know. Have the conversation. Learn the skill. Ask for help when the problem is beyond your current ability. Each responsible action expands your experience. Do not wait until you feel like a different person. Use present actions to build that person. You can also prepare for setbacks by creating recovery plans. Ask what you will do if your schedule fails, your income changes, your project does not work, or your motivation drops. For important goals, create a backup approach. Keep learning even when one opportunity disappears. Maintain useful relationships. Keep basic financial records. Protect your health. Develop more than one useful skill. Preparation reduces panic because you have already considered what you can do next. Your future self will also need the ability to learn from people without copying them completely. Find people who are skilled in areas you want to improve. Study how they work, notice their habits, ask specific questions, look for principles you can adapt to your own circumstances. Do not copy someone's entire life. Learn the useful behavior and test whether it works for you. You should also stop measuring maturity by age. A person can be older and still avoid responsibility. Another person can be young and already understand the value of preparation, honesty, and discipline. Maturity is visible through behavior. It appears in how you handle money, how you speak to people, how you respond to mistakes, how you manage your time, how you treat commitments, how you behave when nobody is watching. These areas are available for practice today. Take a sheet of paper and write 2 descriptions. First, describe your current behavior in the areas that matter most. Be honest. Second, describe how the person you want to become would behave in those same situations. Then, choose the largest difference. Do not attempt to fix all of them immediately. Choose one behavior and practice it for 30 days. If your future self needs better financial control, track every discretionary purchase. If your future self needs better communication, practice listening before responding. If your future self needs stronger professional skills, dedicate focused time to learning and application. If your future self needs better health, establish a routine you can maintain. Build evidence. Every completed action tells you that the new behavior is possible. Every correction teaches you how to improve it. Every difficult day gives you an opportunity to practice the quality you claim to value. There will be days when the old version of you feels easier to return to. That is normal. Familiar behavior often requires less thought. The new behavior requires attention until it becomes more natural. Do not mistake familiarity for suitability. You are allowed to outgrow routines that once helped you. You are allowed to change your priorities as your responsibilities change. You are allowed to become more selective with your time. You are allowed to learn new skills because your old skills are no longer enough. Personal growth requires regular reassessment. Every few months, ask whether your current habits still match your current goals. Some habits may need to be strengthened. Others may need to be removed. New responsibilities may require new systems. Do not build a routine and then follow it blindly for years. Keep learning about yourself. Your future does not need a perfect version of you. It needs a more capable and responsible version of you. Someone who can learn, someone who can adjust, someone who can admit mistakes, someone who can manage pressure, someone who can protect important priorities, someone who can continue improving without needing constant praise. Start becoming that person through ordinary decisions. Prepare before you need the skill. Save before the emergency. Learn before the opportunity arrives. Practice communication before conflict appears. Build healthy routines before your health forces you to change. Strengthen your finances before money becomes a crisis. This is what it means to prepare for the future. You are not required to know exactly what your life will look like years from now. You only need to develop qualities that remain useful across many situations. Discipline, honesty, patience, learning ability, sound judgment, physical care, emotional control, and responsibility will remain valuable even as circumstances change. Invest in qualities that can travel with you. Look at your life today and choose one area where your future requires more from you. Identify the skill or behavior. Decide how you will practice it. Give it a place in your schedule. Measure your actions. Review your progress each week. Do not wait for your future to demand these qualities through a crisis. Build them while life gives you room to practice. The person you become is being developed through the choices you make today. Your future will inherit your habits, your skills, your judgment, and your standards. Give that future something strong to work with. Become more capable before greater responsibility arrives. Become more disciplined before bigger opportunities appear. Become more thoughtful before important decisions are placed in your hands. Keep learning, keep correcting. Keep developing the qualities that make you reliable. Your future does not need promises from you. It needs preparation that can be seen in what you do today. Your transformation does not end when this audiobook ends. It begins with what you do after you close this video. Your future changes when your daily decisions change. You now know that change requires more than wanting a better life. You must be willing to examine your habits, challenge your weak choices, face uncomfortable truths, control your reactions, and continue working when results are slow. Do not try to change everything tonight. Choose one decision that needs to change and make it today. Then make another stronger decision tomorrow. Give yourself enough time to become different through consistent action. There will be days when you feel tired. There will be moments when the old version of you feels easier to return to. Remember why you started. Your goal is not to become perfect. Your goal is to become more disciplined, more responsible, more capable, and more honest with yourself. Come back to this audiobook whenever you need a reminder of what you are capable of becoming. And when you return, do not listen only for motivation. Listen for the one idea you can apply immediately. Your next chapter is built by what you choose to do today.